cheap crowdsourced translation. Is it worth it? Well, let's look at that.
Rapport International, professional translation and interpretation services.
Earlier this year, I was at a conference and I came across a booth for a translation company, and I looked at their prices and they were crazy low. And I didn't understand how they were providing quality human translation with prices that low. So I stepped in to chat with them. And what I learned is they were crowdsourcing the translations. And after I walked away, I kind of shivered. My quality vein in there was just having a guttural reaction to it. Number one, with the crowdsource, you've lost confidentiality. You're taking your content and you're putting it all over the website so anybody can access it. So if it needs to be confidential, that's not going to work. Number two, ownership. If it's out for the crowd to work on, then you've lost ownership of that. So any copyright protection on that has been lost to the cloud and the crowd. Number three, quality. We are careful to assign a translator to understand material for our clients. So they're continually working with that client and gaining knowledge about the products and services and industry specifics. So if you have a crowdsourced translation, that means different people at different times could be working on it, and you're not sure who has that direct oversight to make sure you get the quality that you need. And that brings up number four, which is accountability. So if you have the crowd doing it, if there is a mistake, who do you go back to train that and developing ongoing knowledge so whatever happened doesn't happen before, or if it's not on time, or holding people accountable if they're in the crowd, because you're not picking exactly who's doing it. And then number five is accessibility. So if you have a question on your translation, it's been done by somebody in the crowd, can you be accessible to them, or can they be accessible to you to figure out a different way to handle it? Like if the original English isn't clear and you need some clarity on it. Number six is the liability. As a professional translation company, we carry liability insurance. So if there ever is a grave mistake, we've got insurance coverage against that. Now, knock on wood, for 30 years, we've never had to access the liability insurance. But, with the crowd, you've got some liability there if it's going out to a group of people. And the last one is number seven, consistency. Say you translate your website through the crowd, and then you have a brochure that you want to go back and do. If you've translated a product name one way for your website, and then it's translated differently for your brochure, it's going to cause confusion in your customer's mind because they don't actually know what it's called. Well, I hope this gives you some insight into considerations for if you decide to go after cheap crowd translation to get your materials done. Hope it helps. Any other questions? I'm happy to jump on a call. Just reach out to me. Whoever you choose to do your translation, think through the ultimate cost and ROI. Number one, does it have the ability to affect your bottom line? If it's marketing materials or if it's something that could cause you pain, hire a quality trained translator that can really deliver to you so you're not affecting your bottom line poorly. Number two, think through the liability of the translation. If it's a legal contract, if it's release materials, if it's distributor agreements, think through what liability you could actually have. Because it could lead back to a huge legal case. And in addition, professional legal translators are going to advise you on things like if there is a question between the translation, which language is going to prevail. So these are the kind of subtleties that people can help you with if they're professional translators. Number three, do you need it to be 100% accurate? Because if you need it 100% accurate, you want to hire a professionally trained translator that can make sure they're getting all the grammar and the punctuation and the messaging correctly, So you look good out in the marketplace. Number 4, version control. If you just go willy-nilly and have anybody do your translation, then you'll have versions all over the place. And if you need to do edits later on, it's not as simple as going back, doing the edits, and then doing the translations. You may have multiple versions and that can cause confusion. Number 5, a lot of large companies are starting to look at translations as a return on an investment rather than a pure cost, because you can now measure with all the online marketing that we're doing as to who is going to your website and consuming the translated materials. And from that, you can see what your return is on it. And all the research is showing that people would much rather consume information in their language, their native language, even if they speak English, and they're willing to pay a premium if they can get services in that. So I hope this has been helpful. If you'd like more information, we can actually help you develop a 4x4 matrix or a 3x3 that looks at, what kind of return will you get, a low to high return, what kind of cost, high to low cost, what should go in those different categories, and then also consider, what has liability. Liability may be, high cost, low return, but if it's going to limit your liability in the future, it would be willing to do. We're always willing to talk to you about your materials and give you free advice on when you can use any of the forms of translation. Happy to help. Reach out. Bye.
If you found this video helpful, please share it, leave a comment, and subscribe. If you like hearing fun language and culture facts and goofs, use the link below to subscribe to our bi-monthly Tidbit newsletter. And of course, visit our website for more information or to schedule a free translation assessment.